So we had the meeting yesterday with the cookie place.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, the story is that she's got a sick mother and out of state, and so she's having to travel a lot to see her. And so all of that travel plus um, owning three stores and having to work about 60 to 70 hours a week across all three stores, she says is having her too stretched. So she wants to get rid of this one because I guess the other two are closer together. I don't know. Probably something to do with performance as well that she won't say. But um, yeah, so she's, I think, effectively fire selling it. She she kind of gave some indication that she threw out sort of a loose like, oh, I paid almost 5 times this, but she bought three at once. So I think she paid 500 to 600 for three stores at once, and she's trying to sell this one for 120. Of course, she said it is negotiable. Um, but yeah, it looks pretty turnkey. She says she's got 5 employees that have been there for a little over a year. Um, I'd say the biggest thing was you could just tell that she's just trying. She is doing everything, and she won't let go of, like, she was showing us like some ice cream cake, and Carly's like, "Oh, so cool. Can the high school students do that?" I mean, they can, but like I like it a certain way. And so multiply that by about 5 or 6 other attributes of the store, and you're like, you could totally, you can just see how she's cornered herself in. So she found a way. Actually, she's done a pretty good job. She's managed to hire like all high school students, and I think all but one person's kind of a lead. I don't know if it's high school or teen or young adult. That young adult's making 11 an hour, and everybody else is making 9. And I know it's nice. It's probably food related because you get free food, and she works with their schedules. But I don't know how she's managed to do that in Austin. But even saying all that, like, okay, but then go get one person for 15 an hour that can do all this like stuff that is taxing you. Um, it's kind of crazy. Anyway, so she didn't send me the P&L last night like she said she would, but I'm waiting to see that. I think Carly's Carly's comment yesterday was, as long as if they're at least break even now, then she's interested to keep going. Because we assume there's some things we could do, a little bit better. She doesn't do any advertising. So we think we could grow sales and grow profitability.
So food is totally different than what you're doing retail clothing wise now. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I was thinking if there was some overlap, maybe you could train one set of people and have them support one store on one day and then support the other store on the other day if they're trying to get hours or whatnot or trying something new. Uh,
Mm. Yeah,
versus,
it's pretty different, and this store is like 3 minutes away from us, and the Once Upon is like 45 minutes. So it's
yeah.
um I mean, in saying that, there is one person who she's been with us now a couple months at the Once Upon. That's the one that, oh, you weren't there, but she used to be a GM of a hotel, and now she just wants something a little bit easier. She just had a baby a few months ago, but she actually lives kind of south side of Cedar Park, and so she is driving about 30 minutes to our store. I did think of her and think, oh man, maybe she'd like to drive 15 minutes, and this would be even easier than Once Upon. She could jump straight into being like the manager, like the
Mhm.
store manager of this. Um so but yeah, it's in some ways it's pretty different, but I mean, just I'd say it's a few the big similarities, right? Customer service, selling, you don't have any buying, so that simplifies things a lot, right? But the big sort of like strategic thing I think is advertising and community outreach. And there's probably even more opportunity to do community outreach with the cookie and ice creams, right?
Mhm.
Schools, commerces, events, right? Sporting things, um, parties. But yeah, I don't know. I guess I think we're kind of looking at it as like a couple of things. One, a nice thing to layer on, to to bridge us, because Windmark's not going to let us have the second store, right? But I hate to just sit here and do nothing. Like Justin, you and I talked about, like,
Yeah.
I've got an appetite. I want to do something. And so this seems relatively straightforward, relatively inexpensive, relatively simple. Like you can train anybody up to scoop ice cream and put cookies in a bag, right? And then just from a portfolio management, I hadn't thought about it, but she said their revenue is, their peak season is kind of like the opposite of ours. It's like February to July. So from a portfolio management view, it's like, okay, this is up when OUAC is down and it's down when OUAC is up. So we get a little bit of like more consistent income.
That's good. I like the portfolio management idea the most.
I felt the most businessy as I thought about that.
Yeah. And the price includes any franchise fees or transfer fees that you have to worry about?
I'm sure I'd negotiate in like, I mean, yeah, I think we'd probably go back with 100K, but if there's like a 10K fee, either we split it or we say, okay, it's 100K and you pay the transfer fee or something like that. I mean, if you're a new, I couldn't find their FDD yet online, but I mean, I can see that if you start a brand new one, it's like 25K franchise fee, which is what we paid for Windmark. And Windmark, if you do a transfer, it's like 10K. So I'm assuming it's 10 or 15K to transfer a store. But she didn't know when we talked to her yesterday. She was very concerned with, so she feels like she got really screwed by, so the store was built, this Leander one was built in 19, and this guy sold it to her in 22. And she feels like she got screwed because he told her a bunch of lies. I didn't say like financial projections or for sure the reputation. But then again, here's one of those like waffling, like, is she good or not good? Because I said, oh yeah, I know that you've done a lot of work to improve the reputation. I can see it in the Google reviews. Oh, Jim, I wish I'd thought to read the Google reviews before I bought this store. I didn't even realize how poor it was. I just went on the owner's word that everything was great. And I mean, again, maybe I wouldn't have known to do that on my first store, but yeah, now having had OUAC for 2 years, I'm like, oh, I mean, that's public information. How would you not use that?
Yeah.
But so she says that he told her it was a great store, great performing store. And now she says it was a terrible reputation. They alienated a lot of customers because they were closed at all these random odd times. And it wasn't performing as well. He told her he had a staff. When she got on, there were only 2 people, not 7 or 8. Or maybe it was all his family and they all left. I'm not sure. But anyway, she feels pretty burned out because she's tried to like rebuild the store over the last 18 months. And so she keeps saying, I don't want that to be you. I don't want you to ever feel like I missold you or, sold you there was a bag of, what's it called? Anyway, like misstated my claims, right, about the store. So anyway, I said afterwards to Carly, like, okay, what's the way to keep it going or to not throw her off? And I said, she kind of referenced this. And I said, maybe I should offer to go in on like early next week and be like, can I just shadow you for an hour and see how it's going and how it works? And because she kept throwing out like, I mean, it's really hard. It's a lot of money. You need to be really sure it's going into business. And I guess, the ego in me was like, woman, I told you I have a business. I don't need to hear all this junk. Like, come on. Show me the numbers and I'll tell you if I'm ready to go forward. So I guess I don't want to be seen as that. So I should try to be a little bit more, I don't know, like, oh, this is probably the hardest thing. And we're both non-artists. We're like, do you do a lot of cakes? And does any of your kids know how to make these cookie cakes with all the decoration? And so that is a definite struggle. So she said, my high school kids at the Leander store can make footballs, baseballs, basketballs, and balloons. That's it. She said, if it's anything else, she's the one to make it. And I was like, oh, but I saw on your social media profile, like, you have some amazing cakes. And she said, oh, that's all from the Cedar Park store. And that's all. And I was like, well, who's that? Oh, it's my daughter. She's an art student. Oh, well, so she's going to be there for a while? No, she's graduating college and she's going to leave Austin in the spring. So I have to figure that out, I guess. I don't know, but I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. So I'm how the fuck? Anyway, so she's like, Anyway, but back to the Leander thing. A couple things. I was like, well, how do you make the cakes? Yeah, you just look at a picture and you draw it. I'm like, that seems dumb. So where's the stencils? Where's the scalable graphics? And then of course, then I'm like going to the next step, of course, which is where's the robot? Where's the frosting decorating robot? So
With the $1 million robot.
but just think, I mean, but no, hold on. I should pull this up. The cakes that her daughter's making were impressive.
Better than Emily could do.
Well, I already told Emily, like, hey, go find some cool pictures, vectorize it so you can at least send it to me and I can like project it. Like, have you seen those kids' toys where you can like practice tracing a picture? It like projects an image. So I already said, oh, we should at least think about that to project an image on the cake, and then you can like paint by numbers. But like, I mean, just like can you see?
Wow.
You see the shading detail, like the different shades and hues of green. Like, I can't just have anybody off the street make that. But like, I mean, that one's not complex, but again, that's where I'm like, couldn't you just shoot an image onto the cake and sort of fill it in?
Cool.
Maybe not.
Are those the high margin things though? Like, is that what's selling? And I mean, I would imagine cookies.
So, right.
Coming from, oh geez, yeah, those custom things.
So she said. So here's what she said. She
you
said,
tricked us. That was your mom on the last one.
Yeah, I know. Well, I told my mom, I finally got you a bakery you can run, Mom. But she said, no, she said at Leander. So what she said is, in some ways, it's kind of nice. Leander has become her ice cream store because she gets maybe a cake a day. But she said the Cedar Park one has built up a reputation around the cookie cakes. And she said, yeah, we do 3 to 5 cakes a day. So it can be a revenue driver. But I asked her, like, what's the relative margin? And she's like, I don't know. I need to check. Like, she didn't seem to have a good sense of like, or she didn't want to tell me, ice cream margin versus cookie margin versus cake margin.
But what Super Mario cake was that? 30, 40 bucks?
I mean, the cakes, the smallest cakes are $40.
Oh, okay.
So kind of, I mean,
that's without the customization.
Yeah.
Oh, without the customization.
Well, see, so I don't know. You could tell. So the simple designs that you get online, it's still $40. If you get the bigger, like there's a big rectangle, that's 48. There's a giant circle, that's 64. And I think it includes the design. But I don't know if she's, like upselling them on this custom design and if she's charging them extra.
Yeah. That's got to take over an hour, man. So where's your margin?
Yeah.
I guess it's the other stuff you come in and buy.
But yeah, and that's where it's a little bit tricky to think about margin, because from a cost of goods perspective, she hadn't shared her P&L, but I looked at a few things online and it looks like most are kind of estimating 70 to 75% gross margin, I assume, just versus cost of goods, right? Just the cost of the dough and the ice cream. And but like for those cakes, that's really that's more labor than just your, like, I mean, that labor is probably 30% labor on sales, and the ice cream's like 15 or 10, right? So, but
well, you're not going to get access to her arts daughter by getting the Leander store. So that if the Leander stores focus or turn into the ice cream shop, then just downplay the cookie stuff.
Well, and that's kind of what we thought as we left. It's like, well, in some ways, like the one thing we'd be worried about, she's already she never upplayed it after she acquired it, right? Mm-hmm. So it's already sort of like low volume, so it wouldn't be as big of a headache maybe as we think. She said her comment around that was like, the whole reputation was tarnished. This guy would just never have the store open, and she's like, I heard from multiple families who ordered cookie cakes online, and online just lets you place it.
Yeah.
They show up like an hour or two before the party, the graduation, the whatever, and like the lights are off, the doors are locked. And so
wow.
He's like, so he alienated a lot of customers, right?
Yeah.
That like that.
Well, and you can cross market and cross sell with OUAC too, like bring in this ice cream coupon voucher or whatever and get a free onesie or something like that, or 5% off your next order.
Yeah, and I like all the we kind of something she said, and we were just kind of riffing on it last night. Like, yeah, I mean, just of course, there's all the opportunities to work with schools, and then that's like it feels like an easy way into the school. And then once you're into the school, yeah, then you can have some cross sell or cross promotion with OUAC, right? The clothing drives, or like I don't know, we could get into like coat donations or backpack donations, or we could get into stuff like that.
Eat more ice cream, and when your kids outgrow their stuff, sell it to us. You can buy bigger size clothes for your bigger kids.
Every month, every 5 pounds, get a free. Come weigh in. Oh man, this is going the wrong way. But no, I was gonna say anyway. So something she was kind of talking about with anyway. We were thinking of it as like a potential for parties or for field trips or something like that. With anyway, something around kids decorating their own cookies, either in like a party format or in like a field trip format. That could be interesting.
Yeah, if there's space to do that, like a private room where you carve out like a table off to the corner, that'd be cool.
So it won't be DIY donuts, but close.
Close.
I mean,
close.
Trending with the digital products, I'm sure people looking up gingerbread houses nowadays. So decorate your gingerbread house.
See, get that robot built for me, Justin, and now I can have trending images immediately printed onto a cake. Yes, there's a way, Seymour.
Create a cookie. I was thinking Build-A-Bear. I was like, create a cookie.
Create a cookie. Yeah, there's got to be a way to not screen print, but like, I mean, it's just an inkjet printer on a bigger scale, right? Just bubble out.
It's like a 3D printer with
even if you just did it more as like a thin ink or food ink versus like this super viscous, chunky like frosting. I know that's got to exist somewhere.
I mean,
I feel like I've seen sugar paper that you can print.
Really?
I think I've seen that. So you could put that on there. It has a Super Mario template.
I was gonna say
my mom's remove it. Then
my mom's done some stuff like that where she draws it and then she cuts it out and and then uses the cutout to trace either on fondant or some kind of like layer of sugar or frosting.
I feel like I've seen like at the grocery store they have just a sheet cake that you can print your own custom image on. Yeah. So there's got to be some tool that exists out there that'll, and it looks more like it's sprayed on.
Yeah, agreed.
Rather than like your ice. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, having said all that, any devil's advocate here? Any like, what are you doing? Watch out for this.
Cake ink cartridge with cleaning kit.
Nice.
Wow. Nice.
Where's the video?
Oh, I didn't know Canon ink was edible. See, pretty cool, huh?
What?
Edible ink.
Cool.
Does it print on edible paper and then I literally just print it and then just put frosting on top of it?
I'm pretty sure that's what I've seen it.
Holy crap.
Yeah. Hi, Susan. Merry Christmas. I got you a printer. What? She would love this. How cool is that? I'm saying like you can make your stencil so that you can put the frosting on top of the stencil, right? That's
what I was saying. Yeah, if the stencil is like edible somehow, you lay that down and then you just put the frosting on top. Yeah, just man, my mom would be out of a job.
Huh?
She'd be the printer.
No, you're talking like those AI doomists. It would enhance her job.
Yeah, for a day, Seymour, and then I can train these high school kids at $8 an hour to just pipe the frosting on the pig. Like they've all been doing color by number apps on their iPad since they were little. This will be nothing for them. But anyway, back to any giant pitfalls, anything I'm seemingly glossing over or minimizing or.
So there's probably FDA or USDA requirements to have kitchen stuff. That's a different cost and stuff that it's a different area you're gonna have to learn and it'll be an expense. food handling, food waste. Like with OUAC, you're going to mark down or write off stuff that just expires, but you get like 365 days. With ice cream, if you don't sell it, like you have to make sure that that fits into your projections and model, like so that you're not overbuying, and because the shelf life for ice cream is really short. What other competitors that are in the territory? I mean, there's a lot of restaurants, and not necessarily cookie and ice cream shops, but like a bubble tea or a gelato. Look for those things, like confectionery chocolate stores that could be directly competing with you. I think because this store's already been in operation for several years now, it's stable. You kind of know like what it looks like, and you're not coming into a new market. But still, like those are things that.
Yeah, I guess that's where I'm. Again, the optimism in me is what I told Carly last night. I said, yeah, this is a different view. That I mean, if this was brand new, I'd have a much different perspective, especially given our experience with OUAC, and I would definitely be worried about all that stuff. I hope I'm not minimizing it, but I'm like, this got built basically right before COVID hit. And then despite COVID and despite a crap owner, she still in the last 18 months has gotten it up to 300K of sales.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty impressed with that. I definitely see it as like this is a neighborhood store. But I told Carly, yeah, I'm looking at this more almost like what's the right financial thing? Like a bond. I'm assuming no growth. I'm going to pretend, is this good enough that if we plunk 100K in and we get 20 to 30K of profit a year, so like a 20 to 30% ROI, and I'll just assume that's flat. I think that would be pretty good for 10 to 15 hours of input a week.
Yeah. I was gonna say, like, what is a growth opportunity there? You might have already reached your max or you're saturated,
right?
And so it's like, well, can your capital work better for you, and how much time you're going to put in? Maybe with the cross selling, there's ways you can grow with like sharing customers with OUAC that are willing to drive that far, but maybe catering. I like with donuts, the morning breakfast treats, that guy was doing a lot of catering, like corporate events, and so that's where he was getting a lot of his revenue.
Yeah.
So maybe your cake, this ice cream cake, you could set up a catering arm.
You know what so here's what I told my mom last night. I said, Mom, they've got this amazing fully automated oven. What I need you to do is to come up with a cinnamon roll dough recipe that I can use, and I just punch in one of the cookie presets, and the cinnamon roll comes out, and then we can immediately have a breakfast entree, or to your point, like a caterable breakfast.
It'll open up like 2 more hours of operation time that you can bring people into the store with breakfast cinnamon rolls.
So yeah,
I think it is a franchise. You're allowed to add those, or are you just joking?
So this was a definite positive for Carly. The franchise is, according to this woman, is very invisible. They come to the store once a year. They give you 48 hours notice. They're not even allowed per the agreement to come behind the counter. So they walk in, they go, yep, everything looks good. Okay, see you next year.
Branding is on point with what we expect it to be.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't imagine a Cold Stone Creamery being able to do that.
No, I wouldn't.
Yeah, but they're in the same brand, right?
Well, then you sublet a portion of the store that sells, Susan's cinnamon rolls.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. It's like, why is he selling digital calendars?
It's called the Artist Corner. Okay,
Artist Corner.
In the local community. How else do these people make a living if you don't let them sell their goods? But I mean, I think so anyway, yes, I think there's a lot of upsell, but I'm trying to also just keep it rational in some sense of like, I mean, if it's according to her, and again, we'll see, and I'm gonna make some estimations on like, yeah, we're probably gonna have to pay more for labor here shortly, but like, I mean, a 20 to 30% ROI for pretty low time investment. I don't know. We haven't had a lot of opportunities as a group that we've looked at that sounded like that to me. So
I've heard of pretzel stores and donut shops. They're making like 50% margins. So but
Hold
this was
on.
before
Sorry.
COVID.
Which margin though? Gross?
Okay, I don't know that specific, like if it was gross or net, but I think it's probably gross because the
Yeah, that's got to be
input
right. That's
cost of
got
the
to be gross.
flour and water is really cheap compared to what you're selling the
Yeah.
final product to be.
So yeah, I guess sorry. So I'll say exactly the way I'm trying to think of it. So I'm going to round up very much and just say, okay, so we put 400K into OUAC. My goal for that is to kick out, or whatever you want to say, to cash flow, right?
Mm-hmm.
Pure net margin after all expenses, whatever management we ever hire, right? I want to be able to pull 100K out of that. And so 100 divided by 400 to me is what I'll call 25% ROI, right?
Okay.
I'm not taking into account break even or how
Yeah.
long, but just pure return on investment.
Yeah.
Right. It's going to be a while to get to that. Right.
Yeah.
But that's how I'm viewing it. Because I'm thinking like, oh, well, if you bought a municipal bond right now for $100, you would get $4 or $5 per year, right?
Yeah.
4 or 5% par value thing, whatever you call it. Right. And if you put $100 in the stock market and it was an average year, you'd get $7 to $10. So I guess that's how I'm thinking of the net cash, that anything in the 20 to 30 range or higher to me is pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
So if we put 100K in this, and after all expenses paid, royalties paid, labor paid, etc., if we could kick out 20 to 30K, that's a pretty good return.
Yeah. After covering all your rent and management fees and
everything. Yeah. And so like this year for OUAC, just again for comparison, after we pay all the rent, all the royalty, all the cost of goods, all the people, marketing, blah, 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 fixes, maintenance, we're going to end up somewhere in the 65 to 70K range.
Wow. That's just year 2.
Yeah. And that's, that's net margin, including depreciation. So if you added, if we call it cash,
yeah,
it's actually going to be another 20 to 25K higher.
Yeah.
Because our depreciation is running about 20K per year. So
okay. Wow.
But yeah, no,
awesome.
I think I forget if you were you might not have been on a call with Seymour where I was like, I was kind of gloating a little bit. I'm like, yeah, with depreciation counted, we're going from about a negative 24K year to about a 70K year.
Positive.
Yeah. So
wow.
almost 100K swing. I'm going to call it.
Wow, depreciation covers. I mean, I guess if you're
yeah. So if we didn't include depreciation last year, I would have called it 0.
Yeah.
And then if you didn't include it this year, it'd be like 95.
That's awesome.
So
that's awesome.
Big swing.
Damn.
Or
you'll be ready. You'll be ready to get into your second store.
That's what
next year, man. Like you cash flow it. You got an SBA loan right there.
Well, and that's where you get into a little bit of the seller's discretionary earnings. But like one of the things that OUAC corporates, one of their hurdles, which we always thought there were 2 hurdles. And of course, now we find out there's more, but they always said you needed more than, I think it was 30% equity or 40%. Like you couldn't have it all be loaned. And we don't have that, but they wanted you to have 10% net income on sales. And so this year, even without the sort of like expenses we paid to ourselves, right? That you don't really see, even without that, we would clear the 10%. And if we backed those expenses out, we're going to be close to 15% income on sales.
Nice.
So I'm ready to get this thing ready for year 2, and then it's time to move on, man. It's time to move on to the next store.
You're on like an asset acquisition, pretty much.
Ready to keep going.
I misspoke earlier. It was Marble Slab Creamery.
Oh yeah, that is this. Yeah, so that's what. So this store is Great American Cookie plus Marble Slab.
Oh, it's plus.
Yeah, so that's kind of the nice. Oh, sorry, that's when I told you she's kind of sorry. They call it a co-branded concept.
Yeah.
And so Her other store in Cedar Park is co-branded. Her third store next to
Okay.
Lakeline is purely marble slab, so there's no
Okay.
cookies.
I thought
Okay.
you said scoop ice cream. I was like, oh, you scoop ice cream and still make a cake on top of it.
Oh, okay. No, sorry. So she said, so this
Yeah.
Leander store sells a lot more ice cream than cookies. Cedar Park
Oh,
sells a
cool.
lot more
Okay.
cookies than ice cream, and then her third store is just all ice cream.
Are there
But
are there two separate franchise fees, or they're like those
no,
two
it's
companies?
all.
Okay.
And in fact, as part of their franchise, they have another what you call kiosk or mall concept. They call it
Elevation burger.
pretzel maker. I don't think you ever sell real pretzels, but you sell pretzel bites. But so she said that that Indian couple that came in was talking to her. They were taking measurements and already talking about how they could fit in a pretzel maker under the
I
same.
gotcha. So that makes sense. Having 3 in that store.
So having 3
More or less.
concepts, again, it's just more risk diversification and
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
total
Not their own
available
pretzel maker.
market.
Gotcha.
Wait, so is it
And-
all under the same corporate umbrella, like OUAC and under
Yep.
Woodmark? So then you're allowed to have these multiple brands.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe.
Cool.
Yeah. So yeah, and back to my
Nice.
mom for a second. She'd start with something salty and then move to something sweet and then back
Yeah.
to something salty and then back to something.
Fat brands, really?
Yeah, that's their
Elevation
thing.
burger. Come on.
Oh wow.
That's the easy one.
Yeah, so they've got several like restaurant, but yeah, it seems like they let you do. And I saw in South Austin somewhere they've got a Great American Cookie plus pretzel, or no, North San Antonio. They've got a cookie plus pretzel place.
There's Justin's Native Grill and Wings with arcades.
Smoky Bones is they have those in Atlanta.
Yeah, I was gonna say Fat Brands is out of Atlanta, and apparently that's where the training would be if we got through it.
I
Cool.
don't think I've had a fat burger still.
I feel like a lot of this is coastal. Like I've only ever seen Fat Burger out west. I've seen Johnny Rockets in like the LAX airport.
Mhm. Oh, Twin Peaks. Twin Peaks is part of it.
Oh yeah, that's true. Twin Peaks was in Dallas.
That's like the restaurant idea.
I've never
Well
heard
done.
that, but why
Yeah,
is that?
that's good.
How have I never heard that? It's so
Yeah.
obviously right there.
Can I search on your TikTok feed real quick? Just type that in.
Huh?
Can you do that on your phone?
TikTok feed on fat
Type in
bread?
type in restaurant. I want to see what shows up.
Oh, it's trending. We can make T-shirts.
Well, very good. It's exciting.
Yeah.
Even just high level, it seems like it's a better ROI than potential ROI, even when we were looking at the donut stuff for 90K or whatever, 85K.
Well, yeah, I was trying to remember. I mean, I just didn't go back this morning, but what were their sales? Like 100? You remember?
Like morning sunshine breakfast treats.
I don't even
Sunshine-
think it was
yeah.
100. That's why.
I feel like from our MOU we said something like 1 times sales. Anyway, okay, but yes,
I mean,
it does seem more.
You're right.
Yeah.
216, then 198, 148. Annualized 209.
Oh, okay. So maybe we did 2x EBITDA.
I
or
love our
something.
projections.
Yeah, now it'll be the school game, but
So I'm curious about some other comps though. Like if she's saying that if you're saying this is a fire sale, she's just trying to get out. Like, is it really? Are you getting a good deal? I'd be curious to see some other comps. Like, what for this particular industry or this particular franchise? If you were to start from scratch, what would that capital outlay be versus if you're buying from
Right.
something else? Like,
So-
what would the comp be?
yeah, so I can't get I could go pay $50 and get the FDD. We'll see if I'm waiting to try to do that, or
Okay.
if and when I finally talk to the franchise, they'll give it to me. But from what's available online, that doesn't break it down by dual concept, right? The capital outlay for brand new is 160 to 400.
Oh wow. Okay.
So, and you know that you might know this is traditionally more of a mall build out. So it's
Yeah.
usually more of a kiosk or purely a serving counter. So to me,
Yeah.
160 is going to already be a small thing. And I know from having built out OUAC, forget the racks and the oven. I mean, you're talking 100 to 200K just to white wall, tile,
Yeah.
So anyway, even at just that level, 120 is already at least 25 to 50% off. She made sure to tell me that the ice cream machine, they make the ice cream on site. I assumed it would be shipped in, but it's made. This machine right here is $30,000.
Well, maybe you could private label it to some other restaurants. Hey, we just sold out all of our ice cream. Do you have any extra supply of ice cream?
Starbucks is across the street, Seymour. I should get
How
to
about
know
some
them pretty
receipt?
well.
I'll throw in this roll of receipt paper for free.
Okay, but just go with me for a second. Pumpkin spice latte milkshake. Can we do it? Can we?
Yes.
Yeah, that'd work perfectly. You would knock out the seasonality of that business right away.
Yeah. She was so. Oh man, that was the thing she said. She was like, "I just want to warn you, December's our slow time, so please don't think like there's gonna be nobody here." I'm like, "It's fine. I get it. We have seasonality in our business. I'm not.
Yeah.
If you tell me that it is, it's fine."
I remember when I started going down this road years ago. One of my friends was looking at Rita Ice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I remember looking around New Jersey and New York. They shut down during the winter.
Down.
Yeah, I was surprised.
That was like that was one of our. They had a couple in Conchi, and that was a lot of our like Saturday night ice creams. Mm-hmm. But yeah, basically from I think Columbus Day, Indigenous Day until about Memorial Day, the ones in our area would shut down.
Wow.
So,
sorry, what's Indigenous Day? You just joking?
Nope. Come on, MAGA.
MAGA. What is MAGA?
It's part of the.
You're saying it's
I'm going to get myself in trouble. It's part of the social justice warrior takeover to rebrand what was traditionally a known holiday and rebrand it as something that's much more favorable and
gotcha. I thought you
palatable.
meant between Columbus Day and sometime around Indigenous Day. I was like, I never even.
No, I was. Yeah,
well
I was trying to signify the 1st of October, and that was the first holiday that sort of came to my head.
Gotcha.
But yeah, anyway, she said, yeah, theirs is like basically from Valentine's Day through Easter, through graduation, through kind of like June, July, ice cream, school's out. That's really their high season.
Mm-hmm. Warm weather.
Yep.
Well, I think with cinnamon rolls and pumpkin spice lattes, you'll be able to cover the other half of the year.
That would be so yeah, we'll see. I hope she'll
wonder if the franchise would be amenable to having equity partners or if it has to be just the Jim and Carly LLC.
Well, I mean, yeah, whether it's whatever name is on the franchise.
Yeah.
Versus, the funding of the because just like I think like most franchises, right? They definitely stayed on theirs. They do not get into any finance activities.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll say, go get your.
Maybe as far as evaluating who the owners are or whatever. Like when you if you were to open the second location of Once Upon, like they want to make sure that you're not violating your limit of opening a second store within 2 years. They want to make sure that they know who those owners are.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think yeah that there's certain I don't know this company. But my guess is there's only so much legwork they're going to do, mm-hmm. But somewhere buried in 100 pages of an agreement is probably all the indemnification or
mm-hmm.
me signing up for liabilities if I don't do what I say I'm going to do.
Yeah.
So then that way they don't have to do all the legwork, right? Then if something does pop up, they go, "Oh, you breached."
Well, I can't think of any other devil's advocate stuff right now, but something might pop up later today as I'm thinking about it and watching TikTok videos.
I guess Carly's main, I'll just throw this one out in case you want to think about it. Carly's, one of her main questions was, would this stop us or potentially derail us from doing OUAC number 2? I really like that question. which of course I was like, no.
Jim,
Well,
I like you
listen.
that you're only working 15 hours a week.
I did. Man, you just so when she said that, I was like, this is exactly the conversation I said. You don't think I have the bandwidth to be able to handle all three? And she's like, that's not the point. You're supposed to be not working 60 hours. I'm like, well, what I'm saying is, I said, well, here's the most realistic case. Windmark's not going to let us do anything early, realistically. So we've got 2 to 3 years. This is something we could get in and get set up quickly. And it still gives us the next year to get a year to 2 years to get OUAC South, like to that growth point where it's just a manager. And then you and I have all the bandwidth to go start up and fix Round Rock, right?
Well, maybe this lady's just testing the waters. If she's really relocating to closer to mom, like she's going to have to sell all three.
Yeah, maybe so. Man. She'll be like, don't you want both? And I'll be like, no, just give me one. Shut the other one down.
Just like trying to solve the challenging problem of what to do with all the stapler reordering, I think you've thought through this well enough. So like Justin said, not obvious bias towards action. Think later. I have to remember that for my interview.
But what if 3 years from now, something that might happen that might do something might get me? Yeah.
Yeah. I knew that one Google review was true from 5 years ago.
All right.
Sounds good.
Oh yeah.
I'll coordinate a follow-up.
Justin's got work. Okay. Well, I'll keep you updated in the Slack channels.
Sounds good. I'll do my research and homework on the e-ink.
Okay. Cool.
Okay.
Bye.
All right.
Bye, guys.